Narendra Modi has taken oath for a historic third time as Prime Minister with a new look cabinet that has a lot of the old with some axes and some changes. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Narendra Modi has taken oath as the Prime Minister of India for a historic third time, equaling Jawaharlal Nehru's record in this moment that is unfolding at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Mr. Modi's new look cabinet has a lot of elements from the past. A lot of it is continuity. There have been no dramatic excisions as was expected, speculated, and rumored about. There have been some exits in the form of Smriti Irani, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, and Anurag Thakur, the former INB minister. There have been some new entrants, of course, the allies, the TDP and the JDU in particular, and a host of other parties also getting their place. And there's been the entry of JP Nadda into government, leading to questions as to who will be the next president of the BJP. The other big entrant into the government has been Shivraj Singh Chauhan, sidelined after a dramatic win for the BJP in Madhya Pradesh, but winning by the largest margin of votes among all BJP leaders in this election and getting his place in the cabinet. What will be critical now is who gets which portfolio, but there's a lot still to talk about. What do we make of this, the messaging of this new look cabinet? Since there have been no big changes, what does that suggest? What is the message that the Modi government is sending? Let me introduce our guests on the program today as we look at who's in and who's out. Dilip Cherian is with us, political communication expert, brand guru. Welcome to the program. Also joining us is Neerja Chowdhury, veteran journalist. And also joining us is Anurag Naidu, political analyst. I should also say that we are getting tragic news from Jammu and Kashmir, from the Riyasi area, where police officials are saying that a bus carrying pilgrims has been fired upon, the bus lost control, and multiple casualties are feared. And we will update that development as it comes. The police officials are saying it's a suspected terror attack and the bus was fired on by terrorists, this coming in at this hour. So that's also important to report, even as we look at the politics of the day. Now, we'll have more on that as soon as we have some more details. But let's look at what leaps out from this moment. Neerja, I'll start with you. A lot was expected, talked about, rumored, speculated. Amit Shah would go out. Amit Shah would become party president. Amit Shah would become Gujarat chief minister. Amit Shah is right there. The only perhaps unexpected exit has been that of Anurag Thakur. Smriti Irani and Rajiv Chandrasekhar, of course, both lost their elections. So that is not so surprising. What is the big message to you from what we see so far?
I think basically message of continuity. Continuity, moving very cautiously, is repeated 50%. 36 of them have been repeated. And they are prominent names in the BJP. So I think he would move cautiously because he wants to stabilize the situation vis-a-vis the allies and not create any rumbles within the party by making too many changes. Of course, Anurag Thakur, there's a lot of speculation. Some people say he'll be used in the party or whatever the reason. We'll soon know in the coming hours. But yes, the signal is continuity, therefore political stability. I'm in control, main hoon na. That kind of a signal.
That's a very interesting. Elaborate on that before I go to Dilip and Anurag. This idea that Modi is saying main hoon na. What do you mean by that?
You know, there is a climate of uncertainty with coalition government. They had expected to go beyond 300, very strong government, Modi in power, you know, and a formidable position and power. Suddenly they find themselves at 240, having to rely on allies. And Modi has won every election, but every time he's headed a majority government, unlike Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The 3 times he was prime minister was at the head of minority coalition government. So there has been a lot of question mark. Will Modi, does he have the temperament to run a coalition? Will he be able to run it? Will he last out of 5-year term and so on? And I think that's the message. That's what he's trying to counter. That yes, that this means political stability. That's also a signal going to the neighborhood, the countries in the neighborhood who've been invited. that, there's going to be continuity and stability here, despite the government being a coalition one.
I should say, of course, we have several heads of states from the neighboring countries, not including Pakistan, of course, and that becomes important on an evening when India Pakistan are clashing on the cricket field, but also on a day when we're getting disturbing news, still awaiting more details of a suspected terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Riyasi. And as I said, we'll keep updating that as we know more. Dilip Cherian, do you agree with Neerja? It's really a message of continuity. All the pundits who thought that there was going to be big drama, again, hardly any drama. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, some people thought he might become party president. That isn't happening. But there's a big question mark. Who will be BJP party president? Because there is going to be a new president because Mr. Nadda is now in government.
I think that the message of continuity is certainly there. But the sensation I get is that the people's mandate, in some sense, is not in the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan at the moment. Yes, allies have to be accommodated. Allies have been accommodated. But also the process of doing that has been, in a sense, very, shall I say, calculated and calibrated. So the emphasis clearly is on the mothership, the mother party, which has the majority of members of this coalition. In terms of mathematics, it's fine. But I think that the kind of calibrated incorporation of allies is something that we will inevitably, Barkha, comment on in the future. I'm not saying we will do anything about it just now. And that is possibly what Neerja is referring to when she says cautious approach and making sure that he stabilizes the ship, because this is not a ship of the type that he has been used to steering. So you will actually see Modi, in terms of behavioral practice, having to actually get used to riding, as it were, a new bike. So that sense of balance is going to take time, and we will see that.
Can you explain what you mean by saying the people's mandate is not yet in the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan?
You know, the fact that so many people have been repeated means in practice that this is largely the same government that you had in Modi 2.0. That's what I meant. And the people have said, that's not what we want. We don't want so many of the people who've been, given the responsibilities. Let us see what happens in terms of portfolio allocation. But that is the story for tomorrow. And I can sense that that is where some other stories may emerge. And perhaps in the karma of coalition, you will understand more of the dynamics once you see how portfolios have been allocated. But I think the bigger story, which we cannot miss at this stage, is the rumbles that you talked about, which is what happens to Amit Shah. Those rumbles have just shifted now to who gets to be party president, because the signals from Nagpur were that they wanted someone like a Shivraj Chauhan. Now he's been inveigled into the cabinet, and I'm not using the word in some great judgmental manner, but the fact that he's included means that he is excluded from being in the realm of possibility. So that leaves a really interesting question out there, and that is something that we will see the answer to perhaps a little later, because they can take a little time to take that decision.
I'll just briefly bring in Neerja and then I'll come to you, Anurag. Do you agree, Neerja, that the story, that in a way what Dilip is saying is the decision-making has been delayed. The ball has been kicked down the road, and that what this election, whatever message this election was sending in terms of what happened in Uttar Pradesh, what the voters didn't like, the containment, as it were, of the overarching power of Modi, that message is not reflecting in this cabinet or this council of ministers. It feels like the last government only. There's some allies, but it more or less feels like the last government.
That's right. So in a sense, that's the impression the Prime Minister would like to convey, even though, the prerogative of the prime minister to appoint the ministers that he wants always gets diluted in a coalition government. We've seen it with successive prime ministers. So also with Modi, the ministers that Chandrababu Naidu wants, Nitish Kumar wants, or even Chirag Paswan wants, they sent the list to him about who will be in from their side, from their parties. So that the Narendra Modi has agreed. Now, whether he has also consulted them about the portfolios, we don't know yet. But certainly, he's taking all that into account. He's also seems to be taking into account the concerns of the senior leaders of the BJP. No, it's not a government of the top two. Modi Shah. Now, and I think RSS has obviously had a hand in this. The number one after the Prime Minister is Rajnath Singh, then Amit Shah, then Gadkari, then Nadda, then Shivraj Chauhan. Now, I don't know whether the top four in terms of, the members of the Cabinet Committee on Security, Defense, Home, Foreign Affairs, whether, this will go along with that, whether portfolios will be changed. But certainly the seniority in the cabinet, whatever the portfolios, has been clearly indicated. And these people, Gadkari and Shivraj Chauhan, have been elevated in terms of importance in the whole scheme of things. And that I see the RSS hand certainly behind it.
That's a very interesting, at least in terms of visual optics, Anurag. Would you agree that if you saw the order in which the oaths were taken, Neerja makes a very perceptive point that, you saw Rajnath Singh right after, and then you had Gadkari and Shivraj, and that idea that it was a Modi Shah government, that has at least been visually contested in how things unfolded this evening. Do you agree, or do you think we're reading too much and everything will finally depend on who gets what portfolio? Anurag?
No, I think I don't see a major surprise even in the portfolio, Barkha. I mean, I would still say the CCS will be, two of the four CCS will still be with the same people. And then, I don't see, look, one thing that I can clearly figure out, right, is that there's a very strong narrative after the numbers were out that it is an NDA government, not a Modi government. Now, that is something Mr. Modi has ironed out. It is still Modi 3.0. It is still only about Mr. Modi. It is still, more than continuity, I see control, I see comfort. These are the people who Prime Minister Modi is comfortable with. If you leave few like Mr. Gadkari or, very, very few. But most of them are people who Mr. Modi has extreme high amount of trust. Now, we have to see who would be the next BJP party president, because if the next BJP party president also happened to be somebody who's Amit Shah or Mr. Modi is absolutely comfortable with, then it is, all the way Modi, right? So the talks and the talks, the news that RSS has really, came in very hard on this time, during the government formation, and they said, okay, we need to have major, larger influence now. People are also saying within the party line that there will be a new parliamentary board that RSS will have more influence on. I can see at least, from my state, Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, three of the union ministers who have been nominated, all three from RSS. Even Andhra, it's a big surprise, Purandeshwari not making into it, but Bhupati Raju Srinivas Verma, who's an RSS guy, I'm aware of the fact that he was nominated by the General Secretary Organization of that state to be in the cabinet. So I think RSS somewhere, I see that they're gaining strength, but a large amount of it would still depend on who would be the next party president. And I also am glad with the fact that there's a lot of Lok Sabha representation, not many Rajya Sabha, new surprises. Like even Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan or Piyush, they've now, gone into the people's mandate, got elected in the Lok Sabha. That's a good sign. At least even though they're close to Modi or Modi's favorite, they're not somebody who's come from the Rajya Sabha route. They've gone to the people's court, and it was a tough election. They got themselves elected. And I think that's a good narrative. Even Shivraj Singh Chauhan, for that matter, he could have been a Rajya Sabha way, but he contested from Vidisha, won with over an 8 lakh majority. So overall, this numbers, everything, it's looking like definitely a Modi cabinet. We need to wait and see how things unfold. And I think a lot of emphasis will stay and remain on who would be the next president for the BJP.
You've made a very interesting point. In a way, you're all saying the same thing, continuity. But is there a larger signal in that continuity, Dilip, as Anurag Naidu says, that Modi is saying, for all of you who thought that I've been weakened, I'm showing you that my control over government is still mine. Can we, hang on, I can't hear Dilip. Can we unmute Dilip?
Yeah, and he also shows that my control over media is such that everybody is going to carry the headline Modi 3.0.
Absolutely. Good one.
That also is a form of success. The barrage of messaging that JP Nadda is representing the state of Himachal was also, in a sense, trotted out across all channels. Exactly the same words to say Anurag Thakur's departure does not mean that Himachal is not represented. That's one. The second thing is that, taking on the point about the RSS and its showing its fingers rather than its hands at the moment, is something that we need to watch what happens next on that. There will be signals way beyond the choice of party president. I think you will see that in the allocation of portfolios. You will see that also in the kind of, shall I say, party structure preparation for the elections. Because remember that in 2024, you have a whole bunch of state elections coming up, and you will see that the party, the RSS, is not going to leave it to anybody. And the magic of XYZ, the Chanakya of Indian politics, all of that is no longer valid in my view.
I want to bring in Neerja on that. We haven't reiterated today that Mr. JP Nadda is the same party leader who said that the BJP has moved now beyond the RSS, has become autonomous of the RSS. And I don't know how that made the RSS feel, but Modi is signaling something here, either by bringing Nadda into government, because Nadda could have simply been retired. Mr. Nadda could have simply retired. His term was about to end. He didn't have to be given a cabinet berth. Are we seeing a kind of jousting between Modi and the RSS here? What do we read into Anurag Thakur's exit, Nadda's entry? They're both from the same state, so they both couldn't have been there. Mr. Nadda could have just said bye-bye and hung up his boots. That didn't happen. What do we read into that?
I think, if you notice the way the whole day has gone, Mr. Nadda is the one. He was there at that marathon session yesterday along with the Prime Minister, Amit Shah, B.L. Santosh, and they're supposed to have discussed the whole cabinet, how it should be formulated. That itself is a new thing, for the Prime Minister to consult several of his colleagues on what the cabinet should be like. But it was Mr. Nadda who called up the people and tell them that you please come for the swearing in, that you are in NDA 3. Now, that is a coordinatory role. Now, it could be that as a president, he's playing that role, or is that the role the Prime Minister may want him to play increasingly in the weeks to come? All this, we will know as time goes on. But certainly, Mr. Nadda, who may have thought that he would be shown the door after the elections, and somebody else will take his place, obviously is being given a role. And as far as the RSS is concerned, I think there is an attempt to bring the RSS's concerns on board and to talk to the RSS. And I think generally the Prime Minister will be mindful of not just the allies and the opposition also, but also the people in his own party and the RSS. It's going to be a very critical part of the new functioning.
Yeah, but Anurag, do you agree with Neerja that Mr. Nadda has not faded into oblivion? He easily could have, he spoke about the BJP being now having moved on beyond the RSS. The point is that the imminent assembly elections, Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, are not states where the BJP is strong. The BJP is going to need the RSS, the cadre in these assembly elections. But Nadda's inclusion in government is not necessarily an olive branch to the RSS.
Well, absolutely not. I don't see at least Mr. Nadda as RSS favorite at this point in time. And
Correct.
but I'll tell you an interesting thing, Barkha, and I think you can verify it with your reporters. When we do the research, you'll get it out. I was told by some of my colleagues who are, swearing in, who are in the BJP and everything, Mr. BL Santosh called few of them, asked them to come to HM's residence in the morning, and then the plan was changed, and then they were said, okay, no, you come to PM's house. Now, look at the optics. They all gather at Prime Minister's house. They sit in an auditorium. Prime Minister stands alone, not like, with Mr. Nadda as a party president and HM. It's only Prime Minister, and makes that, a brief 100 days ka target and what we need to do everything. I mean, we don't know what exactly was spoken there in detail, but I know for the fact that it was quite of a motivational speech focused mainly on the first 100 days. So, it appears to me that, at least few of them that I know that Mr. Santosh had called, right? Now, one interesting thing that I would watch out for is if there is a change in general secretary organization position nationally. I don't know. Uh, I would also see if there will be new general secretaries of the party, new prabharis of the state, because we need to understand BJP's organization has a lot of strength. It's not like a Congress organization. When there is a state prabhari and the general secretary organization, they're very powerful, and they call the shots when it comes to the campaign and the strategies for particular state. And Maharashtra in particular will be one state that I'll keenly watch out for, because Maharashtra is one state where RSS and Mr. Amit Shah, in particular, uh, had a confronting views, right? How you need to operate. The Jod Tod Sarkar, whatever happened, RSS is not very keen about it, is what I learned. Now, we need to see there are conflicting views within the party, how you should deal with NCP Ajit Pawar faction, Mr. Shinde. How are you going to go? What kind of composition? How would you negotiate? Are you going to concede? Because the earlier agreement is with Mr. Ajit Pawar is that you concede to us in the Lok Sabha seats, we will give you additional seats in the assembly. Is it going to happen? Are they going to hold on to their promise now that we don't have Mr. Patel in the union cabinet? Now we know what happened in the afternoon. So I think a lot of things need to be seen on how RSS gets its way through, because on a policy level, I don't think RSS agrees with what BJP has done in Maharashtra.
So this is very interesting because Maharashtra is such a mess. This is the shots that Anurag was talking about earlier. The Prime Minister's addressing those who were expected to be sworn in. Neerja, how do you see what's happening in Maharashtra, and also the NCP Ajit Pawar faction, Praful Patel turning down that offer of MOS, saying that I have been demoted?
Barkha, it reminds me of VP Singh the day he was to be sworn in. Yashwant Sinha was going towards Darbar Hall, was told he was going to be made MOS. He turned around and went back. He belonged to the Chandrasekhar camp. There began the differences in the VP government. The government lasted 11 months. There were, of course, variety of reasons. We don't need to go into that. But this is the only discordant note we see today in government formation. Otherwise, it could have been a very tricky exercise, but it went off very smoothly. But for this, now what are the options for the NCP Ajit Pawar with the Maharashtra elections down the road in October? Will they go back? Will Sharad Pawar take back Ajit Pawar? The lines of succession in NCP headed by him are very clear now. They've done extremely well. 8 out of 10 for NCP, 30 for the MVA. And they're all set, to win Maharashtra. At least that's the popular buzz. The BJP will have to really get its act together in Maharashtra, Haryana, Jharkhand, Delhi, to be able to send a very different message, that we can still win elections. But on Maharashtra, the options for Ajit Pawar's group are now narrowing. And but it is possible that the MLAs who left the party, left Sharad Pawar's side, many of them may want to go back and are already in touch with the Pawar group.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting, it's an evolving situation. We'll probably find by the day, new political developments.
Yeah. I was just saying, no matter which way you look at it, and you're right, this has been the only minor hiccup because the NCP Ajit Pawar isn't a big factor on national politics or in terms of bolstering the Lok Sabha strength. But the Maharashtra news isn't getting better for the BJP. Fadnavis offered to resign. He's been told to stay on. There were reports that they were reaching out to Uddhav Thackeray. He's showing no signs of moving, at least as of now. Anurag, you wanted to come in, then I'll come to Dilip. Can we unmute
quick,
Anurag, please?
yeah,
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
very quick observation, Barkha. I've been following the news, through the afternoon. The way Ajit Pawar handled the whole situation of the ministry mess up, I think that's a big letdown. I cannot imagine Mr. Pawar being in that position and doing this kind of negotiation. I mean, there's no negotiation as a party president. You take a decision and things follow. I mean, they were all at Mr. Tatkare's house, trying to pacify. Then Devendra Fadnavis pitching in a lot of things. I think also one a very important thing what they have to understand is they should have taken, even if it's a Minister of State independent charge, I think they should have taken it because it doesn't send a good message. Because at this point in time, as we are talking, there was a meeting called by the Sharad Pawar faction. Mr. Pawar had called a meeting with all the newly elected member of parliament. There is a very strong buzz that a huge, big chunk of MLAs of Mr. Ajit Pawar faction are in touch. And with all likelihood, because if you see the popularity during the campaign, I mean, let's not forget, Barkha, this man at 83 has managed to win 8 MPs. It's massive. In today's times, 8 MPs is a huge thing, doing around 100 odd campaigns. So he's active. And, trust me, one another pulse is wherever Mr. Pawar does his rallies, I mean, he swings, he's like that juggernaut that he swings. So there's a huge buzz about Mr. Pawar, right? So I think there's a big factor. Mr. Ajit Pawar, in my view, should have, handled this situation in a much better way. I mean, I think it's quite a letdown for me.
That's interesting. Dilip, let me bring you in. What would you be looking out for in the portfolio allocation? We'll take quick last comments from all of you now. What would you be looking out for in the portfolio allocation?
I think what I will be looking for is how the major infrastructure ministries are allocated. I know for certain that both the TDP as well as Nitish's party are keen on certain portfolios. But equally, I know that both leaders have, in a sense, indicated privately, at least to people who they've spoken to, that they're not going to make a fuss about this allocation. So does that mean that both of them want the special package for their states? Is that going to be the process of gaining what they want from this government, which they are a fundamental part of? I think that the kind of portfolios that they will get, if they include the mega infrastructure sector, then we will know that they have pulled their weight in terms of portfolios where they have not pulled their weight in terms of numbers. Also, what I'm hearing is that Praful Patel was called last night with this plan that you come on as MOS, and I think that there was a little debate internally before it was decided that they would not accept that, because they had kind of quasi-decided who would be their representative in the cabinet. And I think the kind of ability to manage affairs within the cabinet is probably one reason why they decided to turn down the MOS offer.
Interesting. Anurag, which portfolios would you be looking at as they come?
I would be looking at my state, Andhra Pradesh, because there's a lot of buzz, and Mr. Naidu is extremely important today. But unfortunately, you could not. I mean, like Dilip mentioned, I mean, I'm really surprised. There are just 2 portfolios, 1 cabinet and 1 MOS for 16 MPs. I'm thinking.
Well,
really
we have to
because
see who the speaker. We have to see who the speaker is.
No, but speaker for sure, no. Looking at the affairs, Barkha, speaker for sure, no. Maybe deputy speaker, but that will not be of any use. I mean, I think if special category status is on the card, then I think that'll be a big surprise. But looking at the affairs of how things have unfolded, I mean, look, even in the cabinet, Ram Mohan Naidu, he's not. I mean, dear friend, but it's not somebody you can really take a heavyweight portfolio or manage a heavyweight portfolio at this point in time, because he's quite young and first time into the cabinet. Even Chandrasekhar Premasani, first time MP, new to the Indian politics, MOS. I really don't see in any way that Andhra Pradesh getting a very heavyweight or important portfolio. But I've been looking at Jal Shakti because Polavaram project is at stake. It's a huge stake for the Andhra Pradesh, and ports, because ports and shipping, Andhra is going to be a port capital of India. So I think these two ministries that I'll watch out for. And maybe Mr. Pemasani Chandrasekhar has very much interest in health because he's an eminent doctor and has written a lot of books and theses across the globe. So I think he's very keen, maybe MOS health, something like that.
But at the moment, you feel Chandrababu hasn't got a lot out of this deal, unless there's some talk of special
16
status.
is a lot of MPs, Barkha. 16 MPs is a lot to bargain. I mean, come on. I mean, the news was like all 6 cabinet and 10 cabinet, 8 cabinet, Ardo MP ke liye ek mantri and all. So like, yeah, I mean,
I think that's the... that's the bottom line. Let me give Neerja the last word, that none of this has gone according to any Delhi speculation. Very little of it has.
Yeah, but I would add also to this, I'm very mystified why Chandrababu Naidu, despite 16 Lok Sabha MPs, has agreed to 2 ministers, same given to Nitish Kumar, unless there's a compensatory offer somewhere, which could be financial, the package, and of course he needs money more than anything else for his capital and for whatever he wants to do on the development front, etc. But the question still remains, is it that he's still pushing for Lok Sabha Speaker? Is that we haven't yet heard about who's going to be the Lok Sabha Speaker, and both for the allies and for the BJP, the Speaker's post is extremely critical. If the BJP at a later date decides to break parties to get a majority, remember Narasimha Rao did that, then a Speaker's position becomes critical.
Yeah, well, lots of questions, very few answers. We have to wait for the portfolio allocation to get a greater sense of whether anything is shifted or whether it's more of the same. And if it's more of the same, how will that go down with the allies? And maybe nothing is answered immediately till the next set of assembly elections. Thank you very much to all of you. I know it's a long Sunday. There's a India-Pakistan match to be seen and there's a lot else happening. So we'll let you go now. Thank you, Anurag, Dilip and Neerja, and to our audience, thank you for watching. See you soon.
We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we're beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Havas of democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below, and see you soon.